When making a mould which will be used with liquid Fimo, it's important to get the level as straight as possible. First check the table's level. Then I'm using a mould from a cosmetic lid, so I'm checking that the cosmetic lid's level too. There's a little nib of plastic affecting this level, so I'm just going to take it off with a palette knife. So that's level. Then mix the mould material. You will need quite a generous amount for this project, so don't forget to mix it really well and really quickly. This is the best way to mix it. Finishing off with rolling it in your palms helps as well. Insert the cosmetic lid into the mould material. When I've inserted the lid into the mould material, it's not quite so important that the material is completely level round the sides, but it's really important that the master is level in the mould. Check this before leaving it to set. If necessary, adjust by putting a little pressure on one side. To make a realistic cheesecake base, make up a mix of semolina mixed with liquid polymer. The liquid polymer is coloured biscuit colour, that is to say ochre, brown and white oil colour are added in small quantities. Just as you did with the mince pies, make a mix that's fairly dry, so not too much of the liquid. If any will come out at all. There. Again, just about a teaspoonful. Mix it really well so that every single grain of semolina is coated. Put a thin layer into a circular mould. Don't make it too thick because you want to add the rest of the ingredients later. It looks as if I'm putting a lot in, but I'm going to press it down. I'm taking my time to tap this down because sometimes if you leave a bit of air in, the whole thing can bubble up in the oven. This tapping motion removes as much air as possible. clean up the sides before you bake it. If you leave any bits, they'll show up and spoil the next layer. You can get away with park baking for, say, 10 minutes. Meanwhile, you need to mix the colour for the cheesecake. Here I'm using clear spirit-based colours. Along with liquid Fimo. This is best for this job because it's the most transparent. This stain, which looks orange, is actually a concentrated yellow. So I need just a drop of red as well to turn it orange. So I'll put the lid on the yellow, because if you knock it over it'll be all over the place, and it's very strong. Just a touch of red, not too much. I've got quite a generous amount in this glass container because we're going to be making 2 mixes from this original mix. This is our first mix, the transparent orange. So this will be the gel layer, the top layer, and we also use the same colour as a tint for the cheesecake layer. Here I've used the same colour but added it to an icing mix to make a paler orange colour. This is the one I'll use for the cheesecake. So, put a layer of this in your mould on top of the pre-baked base. The reason I pre-bake is to stop the colours mixing. Don't completely fill this mould as we want to put a gel layer on top. Work this around the edges, but don't put too much in. Work it in. I'm removing any air by just poking the mix a bit. Then tap it. This helps the mixture to self-level. You'll need to wipe the edges of this again, otherwise it'll bake and spoil the finished result. Just wipe the edges carefully. There's just enough room left in the top for the gel, but you will have to bake it in between again. It's as well to make several cheesecakes at once, otherwise the repetitive baking does seem a bit over the top for just one cheesecake. That's baked now. Here I'm using some orange slices from one of my canes. Simply cut the slices as fine as possible. Remember, the more finely you slice it, the better it looks, and the further your cane will go. I've chosen to use the skinless orange because it's unlikely that you would use orange with a skin on a cheesecake in real life. Instructions on how to make these orange canes appear in my first book, Making Miniature Food, but you can buy them ready-made from me. Put a thin layer of translucent orange mix over the pre-baked cheesecake. Not too much, because when you bake them, the oranges might wander a little in the liquid if there's too much. This is a really simple topping. But you can make any colour and put any fruit in. Again, bring this to the edge. And work it round. As usual, clean the edges up. Place your selected fruits into this layer and the liquid will grab and hold them. In the book which this DVD accompanies, there is a gorgeous summer berry cheesecake made using similar methods.